Hi, welcome back. In this video, I want to show you how to draw this beautiful and realistic butterfly using color pencils. So grab your tools and let's get started. So these are the colors and other art supplies I'm going to use in this drawing, and you can pause the video right here to note them down. And if you want to know how I select colors for my drawings, you can watch this video from the cards. I draw the outlines using grid method, and you can find all the references including this outline grid reference on my Patreon profile. Link is in the description. I'm using this smooth surface drawing paper from my Strathmore drawing pad, and the drawing portion area is 7 × 9 inches. I'm going to mask the edges of this paper using a masking tape. It will help you get a straight and sharp border for the background. I'm starting the background with bit pastels here because of two main reasons. Firstly, I thought I'll be using too much of the pencil colors for a simple and flat background, which can be easily made with soft pastels. Secondly, I was also concerned about the texture and whether they will be smooth enough for the background. But when I reached the flower portion and used the blender pencils on the pencil colors, I realized I could have easily used polychromos for the background as well, because the paper we are using here is smooth enough for the polychromos, but it is too smooth for the pastel colors to stick on. So I would suggest you guys to use polychromos for the background, as they will give better results if you are using them on a smooth surface paper like this. You will also get more vibrant and beautiful results with pencil colors. Here I am using a light green shade from my dry pastel set and adding a base layer and then blending it with my finger. For the polychromos, you can use 112 to add a base layer in the background, and then use your blender pencil afterwards to get a smooth base layer. Now for the darker hues in the background, I'm using a dark green pastel pencil and then blending it with a cotton swab. You can use polychromos 267 for this second layer. I'm using yellow pastel pencil to add the yellow tint in the background and green color for the second layer of darker hues, and then blending them one by one using my finger afterwards. The similar shades in polychromos are 107 and 168 respectively. I'm going back and forth with my pastel colors because the paper is very smooth and pastels are not sticking well to it. But if you are using polychromos, your background will be good to go after the yellow layer, and you don't have to readjust the layers again and again. And don't forget to blend each layer using your blender pencil if you are using pencil colors. Okay, so now moving on to the butterfly, and first of all I'm going to fill these shapes and spots using blue 151 but with less pressure, and then add a second layer with higher pressure to get shadows in the required areas. Now I'm going to add the next layer using 149 on top of 151 to make the overall shade look more vibrant. This layer will also help to fill the empty areas that were left behind in the previous layers. I will also use the same 149 to fill the remaining shapes of the butterfly wings. For these small shapes and the left portion of the wings, I'm going to use 247 and fill this area thoroughly. I used a blender pencil here to blend this layer thoroughly to get a smooth finish, but it affected the paper texture and made it even more smoother than before. And because of this, I really struggled when I started filling the surrounding areas with black color. So I would suggest you guys to fill the black areas first and then fill these 247 areas afterwards. And by the way, you can get access to our premium content and support this channel through Patreon. You can sign up through different membership levels and get access to all the outline and grid references, etc. We have an ever-growing library of hundreds of exclusive and real-time tutorials, and you will also get access to 4 new tutorials every month. You can also post your artworks in our active community of patrons and participate in our weekly critique sessions where I give my honest and positive critiques on your artworks, so you can improve your skills and get better with your drawing. Visit the link in description and become a premium member today. I used 199 to outline and to give a definite shape to these circular and square shapes first, and then I filled all the surrounding areas of these outline with pitch black color. Make sure to add this layer very carefully and keep the tip of your colors sharp at all times so you don't accidentally mess up these tiny shapes and details. I'm also shading the corners of these shapes using the same 199 but with a low angle and less pressure to add a slight contrast in some of these areas, just like this. I'm going to use this same 199 with a sharp tip to add these antennas as well. Now to fill these tiny boxes in the body, I'm going to use 184 with a sharp tip and fill them very carefully. I will use this same 184 to fill the boxes on the upper left corner of the wing to match with the reference image. The clips of adding these small rectangular lines accidentally got deleted, but you just have to make sure that your eraser has a sharp tip and then slowly erase in the shape of small rectangular lines along these border of the wings to get similar results. You can sharpen the tip of your electric eraser using a fine grit sandpaper with a grit size between 300 to 500. Or you can also get this Faber-Castell scraper or lead sharpener for this purpose. You can find the link of the product in the description. For the highlights and small white dots in the wings, I'm going to use this same electric eraser and add them where required to make these shapes and patterns look shiny. Now moving on to the flower, and first of all I'm going to add a base layer in the bird using yellow 107. I'm using the same 107 but with lower pressure to add a base layer in the petals. Now grab the orange 115 and start adding these small straight but faded lines in the lower portion of the bud. And use the same 115 to add these curved lines or semicircular lines in this upper portion of the bud. Now I'm going to use this 121 to add contrast in between some of these lines we just added. I'm also going to add straight lines in between and over the previous ones using 177 to create shadow. For this stamen, I'm going to use my chisel tip electric eraser and add these straight lines which are curved from the ends. You can also add random white dots and arcs like this to mimic the stamen texture. The yellow base layer we just added with higher pressure is now peeking through these lines and texture. If we had only used the orange color as a base layer, then we would be left with a whitish shade instead of this beautiful yellow we are seeing here right now. You can use 115 to readjust the arcs and shadows if required. I used 173 and thoroughly filled this background area around the stamens and blended it with a blender pencil afterwards. And then used the electric eraser again to add these individual arcs for the stamens. Now I'm using 121 and shading the petals by making the outline first with higher pressure and then adding these faded lines using lower pressure. Keep less spacing in between strokes at the edges of the petals and more spacing near the bud area. Add the second layer using the same 121 with relatively higher pressure to create depth in the petals. Now to blend the shades together and to add the tint of yellow, I'm using 107 and layer it over the previous shades to give the petals a 3D look. You can further lighten the color of the petals where required using white 101. To add texture in the petals, I'm going to use my electric eraser with a sharp tip and add these fine lines and details in between. You can also use your gel roll pen for this purpose. It will work the same. I'm going to repeat the similar coloring process for the remaining petals as well. Moving on to the stem, and first of all I'm adding a base layer using 173 and then adding the second layer using a darker hue like 174 to create contrast and to give the stem a 3D look. I'm going to repeat the same process for the sepals as well. I'm also going to add these dotted highlights on the antennas to make them look shiny and 3D. And now I'm filling the remaining portion of the background using green pit pastel. I wanted to fill this remaining portion with pencil colors, but as I have used pastels before, so I had to use the same pastel colors for the remaining background. But you can use your 168 polychromos color if you want. I'm using a darker green and brown color to shade this lower right corner of the background. You can use polychromos 173 and 177 and layer them together to get these similar results. I'm blending these layers using my fingers, but you can use a blender pencil if you are using polychromos colors. I'm adding the tint of peach color around the stem and then blending it afterwards. You can use 131 here for this purpose. Now add the contrast on the lower right corner using 199 and then blend it lightly to get the desired darkness just like the reference image. And for the left side, I'm using darker green to add shadows and contrast and then blending it afterwards. You can also add a tint of light green to match this area with the overall background. I'm using white 101 to add these small circles for the bokeh effect and then blending them afterwards. I almost forgot to add legs, which is why I'm adding them in the very end. But you can add them whenever you are done with the flower part. I'm using black 199 to fill these legs. And for the hair and fur around the legs, make sure to sharpen your color on sandpaper like this to get a sharp tip. And then add these small, thin and sharp strokes like this for the hair on the legs, around the body or where required. Just like this. And with this last step, we are done with this realistic butterfly drawing. It takes so much time and effort to create this tutorial, so please leave a like if you enjoyed this one. It helps me a lot as an artist. So if you want to get the real-time tutorial of this drawing, you can visit my Patreon profile. And if you want to learn the basics of drawing first, you can join my course on Udemy. All the links are in the description down below. So thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one.